Boostly Podcast Season 8. We are on Friday, the 27th of March. We are in the coronavirus series and we're talking about how you can be proactive on the back of this to still bring in bookings, whether it's in the short term, the medium, or the long term. This whole series is going to be dedicated to that and helping the hospitality industry fight back. Today, I invited on Danny from Optimize My B&B. He's got at Danny Boo Boo for his personal account, or you can go to Optimize My B&B for his business account. Danny has been traveling the world. He's had 700 plus night stays in rental accommodation, in Airbnb accommodation, straight for the last couple of years now. And he has built a business and a lifestyle totally around what he likes to do, traveling, Airbnb, and just being able to see the world, interact with people. He is an ex-Airbnb employee. He was employee number 600, I believe it was. He said he was in the accounting team. He went from there, starting up his own property management business, and now he travels the world helping other hosts get more bookings, whether it's on Airbnb or just other means. And he's been on the eastern side of the world ever since January, ever since the coronavirus first broke out in Wuhan in China. He's been in Vietnam, he's been in the Philippines, and now he's in Bali. So he's been able to see a totally different culture to this, a totally different side to this. He obviously still watches the media and see how the media plays a part in all of this and seeing how it has affected different countries around the world. And he's got his own very strong views on this. And I really wanted to get him on the podcast on the back of seeing his own Instagram and his own YouTube and his own posts and views about it. And this conversation went live on my Facebook on Friday, the 27th of March. And again, it had very different of opinions. It was very Marmite. Marmite, for those who don't know it, you either like it or you love it. And there's no in between. And this is really important to have these types of discussions. Now, you're either going to agree with it or you don't. It's very different to any style of podcast that I've done in the past, live video that I've done in the past, but it was one that I'm glad that we did. And the discussion varied from Airbnb, hospitality, how to be proactive with bookings. We talked about the change, not cancel, and many, 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 many other things. You may have seen me drinking from this during the live interview. This was a gift sent to me by Marie Starks, based in Marmel, near Little Rock in Arkansas. So thank you very much. It's my own little Boostly branded coffee mug. This was recorded at 10 a.m. in the morning. We had so many people joining and jumping in the live discussion. If you want to go back and watch it again, you can do on the video. If you go to facebook.com/Mr. Mark Simpson, you can go to boostly.co.uk/podcast to go and see the write-up and all of the videos that we created around this video. Before you leave, I just want to say a massive thank you to Hostfully. They are the Boostly podcast sponsors. You can go find out more about Hostfully by going to hostfully.com. You get one free digital guidebook that you can send to your guests pre-arrival. These are really effective because you can give directions, you can give lock codes, you can give really good detailed description on how to find your property. And also as well, it's a great way of getting them excited about your stay. In the meantime though, please sit back, relax and listen, and make sure that you make notes, and most importantly, put impact and implement the advice that we're going to give you. This is the Proactive series, all about the coronavirus. Enjoy.
Thanks for having me on. I am Danny. I run OptimizeMyBnB.com. 6 years ago, I think I started working for Airbnb, employee number 700. Since then, I've become a host, a super host. I worked for an Airbnb property manager. I started my own Airbnb property management company. 2017, I started living full-time in Airbnbs. I'm sitting right now in an Airbnb in Bali, Ubud specifically. I'm sure a lot of your folks are familiar with the island of Bali. I've stayed almost 1,100 nights as a guest. I've written the best-selling book for Airbnb hosts. And I've been focusing on content. Got my YouTube channel, my Instagram where I do live videos often, and then my blog post where I'm just pushing out a lot of content. Something I pushed out recently was a video and a blog post about coronavirus, just kind of my thoughts about how to differentiate yourself, the quick action you should take, and how long you should do it for. And my views are very different than the average view on coronavirus. I come at things very skeptically and always from a different view, which in this case has not made me very popular. But I still think it's important to know just what other people are thinking. And I'm going to share those with you guys. I started off in January in Thailand, in Chiang Mai in Thailand. And this is when I first heard about Corona from my dad. He said, "Hey, come home now. I'll even pay for your flight." And then I moved, but it really wasn't a thing yet. This was very early on. And then I went to Vietnam. in Saigon. It still wasn't a thing. This was February. And then I went to Nha Trang in Vietnam. This is when it seemed to be there. It was very, I went with a friend and she told me that there was less people there. So this is when it started happening, kind of the middle of February. End of February, I went to Hanoi. When I got there, the first case had been brought to Hanoi. This younger woman came from a traveling spree, and I guess she didn't say she felt sick, and she spread it a little bit. That city went on lockdown the day I left. I got to the Philippines, Manila. And the day I arrived in Manila, the president made a speech that basically said, like, hey, everyone, like, pull back. Not a lockdown, but like pull back. Just everyone chill out. Stay at home if you can. A few days later on Monday, that city goes into total lockdown. And it was already kind of quiet. On Monday, goes into total lockdown. The next few days, it went on to even more restrictive lockdown. Today, I just spoke with a friend. It's even on more restrictive lockdown. You can only go to the grocery store a couple days a week now. So I left. I did some research on where do I want to go. I chose Bali. That's where I'm speaking to you now. Like I mentioned, my views on, I guess I'll keep my personal views on coronavirus limited here. I will just say that because I think it's important to understand the function of the mainstream media. I don't have anything really against the mainstream media as long as you understand its purpose. Its purpose is to get your eyeballs glued to the TV. So they're making things, and this has been documented over and over and over. If you're thinking not, it has. I won't go into it, but just over and over repeatedly. And that's their business. That's my business too. What can I do to get more views, on my YouTube, to get more followers on Instagram? So you have to understand, the amount of times I've seen the word apocalyptic in headlines the past week is absurd. Nothing apocalyptic is going on. Nothing. If you understand that about the news media, I don't want you to live in fear. I mean, the world is not ending. Measures should be taken, but just don't react so emotionally. And I think as an Airbnb host doing that, also some people are totally stopping their business. If we move on from that, so some people think this will go for years, some people think months. I believe this will be done. About a week ago, I announced in 1 month this will be kind of over. So that means I'm advising my hosts, my community, plan for a slow season of 2 months, because the average guest is going to book about a month in advance. So 2 months, 3 months if you want to be conservative. Plan for that. You're in busy season no matter where you're at. You should have already taken this action. When this kind of thing happens, you got to really take action quick. As soon as I lowered my price about maybe a week and a half ago at this point, I did get some bonus bookings. The reality is you're not going to get much occupancy. So some hosts are really hurting. So this is a time to sit back and even kind of examine your business. If you can't withstand a month of low occupancy, you should have enough cash flow to withstand these kind of things. There's some other strategies being in play. Some are good strategies, some are not good strategies, but I guess I'll leave it there.
Basically, you have been in sort of where the coronavirus first began in January. You've been in and around that world. You haven't been in China directly, but everybody that knows the globe and knows the map of the world knows that Vietnam, Thailand, very close, Philippines, very, very close to it. And obviously you've lived with the culture and the cultures. And obviously where you are right now, and we were chatting before we went live about Bali. Now, we both know Bali very well. I spent a good 4 months of it there last year at the beginning of 2019. And what I love about Balinese people, particularly about a time like this, is that just everything that's going on there, every government is working around this differently, and everybody's doing different tactics and methods and how to control this. Obviously, there's different situations. Every country is different. But you made a very, very clear observation of how life in Bali is right now. So if you could just spend like a couple of minutes, just like repeat the sort of the conversation that we had. How are the locals taken to this and the coronavirus, especially like the week that you've had with Nyipi and the Silent Festival and all the festivals that go around it? How have you observed it from where you've been?
It's important to note that this economy is based on tourism. Basically, you could consider 100% of this economy is tourism. Whether you're a restaurant owner, whether you're renting motorcycles, whether you're a taxi driver, a lot of this economy, I think I even heard a stat, 85% is based on tourism. So that could be kind of the factor for why people are reacting the way they are. How they're reacting is, I talked to my friends friends in the US. My friend who I'm with now is Australian. Her friends in Australia, they're scared. They're terrified. And the people here, they're not really at all. Them being in a tourist location could be the reason for that, or it could just be kind of how they are as a culture. I'd be curious if anyone tuning in from a really tourist-centric area, is it similar there? Are the locals kind of downplaying the coronavirus, or are they locking themselves inside as well? You mentioned Nepi. It is an important holiday here. It's on Wednesday, on the 25th. It was silent day, so everyone it was like self-quarantine. That's what it is. Everyone stays inside. They cut the internet, and then they extended that one day. The night before Nepi is big gatherings. So the government said, "Hey, cancel those." I think that's reasonable. We know that it seems that coronavirus is less contagious than the media is making it seem, but nevertheless, that's a reasonable precaution. They did that. They have asked some restaurants, if possible, can you guys just do delivery only? But gyms are staying open. Contrast that with the U.S. My friend's golf course got shut down. If anyone's familiar with golf, you're not catching coronavirus playing golf. The reasonable and unreasonable precautions being taken in different countries are quite extreme. Another thing is the gym is open here. The gym is open. In other places, the gym is not open. I was at immigration, and something I noticed this morning, going to immigration to figure out, hey, can I stay longer? There was a cluster of people just shoulder to shoulder. And I was thinking, isn't that's not social distancing at all. So how are we're enforcing it in one area, but not the other? I'm sure this is happening in countries across the globe. So it's confusing.
Speaking from a UK point of view, obviously we are on lockdown. You can only go to work if it is essential, but yet there's been pictures streamed on a daily basis of the London Underground. I don't know, London Underground is very similar to, the New York Metro and whatnot, where everybody is packed in very, very small confined space for, 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time, where everybody else, I'm up here in the North Yorkshire Moors, I can't literally see anybody if I wanted to from looking out the window. Very different contrasting views, but I think like with the Balinese people, like I say, they are used to adversity all the time. They've got the massive volcano that is erupting, and they've got earthquakes. So this is just another thing. And again, it's really interesting to see how different people are coping with it. Now, you've obviously got a property business, property management business, even though you just travel the world 700 plus days, really, if you want to see different cities, different takes on cities and like traveling and working and the sort of the digital nomad style, definitely check out Danny's account, because it is awesome. Gets everywhere. Obviously, though, you still got your property management back in the US. Where in the USA are your properties again? Just remind me and everybody that's watching.
California and New York.
California and New York. Now, obviously, what is the current state of play with California and New York? We had Julian Sage, who's based in Washington, on last night. He's got his properties in Washington. But how is the current state of play in New York and California with terms of getting bookings or having bookings late in the short term?
We got hit pretty hard. I mean, I think 100% cancellation. Everyone canceled within about a week. That last week of February, I think it was. Everyone canceled. The point is some actionable advice. Here's some actionable advice for coronavirus. This is true now. It was true a week ago. Make your listing flexible. Same thing you do in slow season. When it's in slow season and there's less demand but the same supply, make your listing more flexible as you can, whether that be lower your cancellation policy, lower your minimum nights, lower your pricing, of course. Do not cancel. I had, now it doesn't matter, I guess, but still, I wouldn't cancel. I had a host who had a guest from China coming. It was a month away, and I accepted it, and they canceled right away. Well, my perspective is, hey, look, they got to go through China airport. They got to go through US airport. Let's give our governmental organizations the credit that they deserve. And this person is going to be coronavirus free by the time they arrive. Also, they're not anywhere near that region that was most affected. Nowadays, canceling doesn't matter. And, it depends on your situation. If you have a really high risk individual living on the property, maybe it makes sense. That's really personal. Send a preemptive message. My cleaners are so good. This is another reason why to get good cleaners. My cleaners are so good. They sent a preemptive message before I did, just letting the guests know, hey, these are the extra things we're doing to clean your house, just so you know. Because if the guest is only getting their information from the mainstream media, well, we already went over that. They're probably going to be more terrified than the reality would suggest. Sending that preemptive message kind of calms their calms their fears a little bit. The cleaner just said what they're going to do extra.
For the last 2 nights, we were looking at proactive ways of pivoting, proactive ways of bringing in income, even if you can't take bookings right now. And that, I like that. Number one, the Price Labs. So Price Labs is a pricing software. It helps you with the rates that you should be setting, or gives like a rough guideline based on what local people in the area, or just the general thing of what's happening. Like we've talked about pricing so much on these podcasts. We've talked about pricing a lot, and that's a really cool feature. So there's going to be a lot of people now, in the UK, for example, the only people that are really making bookings right now are key workers. So hospital staff, news reporters, whoever it may be, you've got to be a key worker. And we're finding that key workers are the ones that are doing the traveling and doing the bookings at the moment. And you do, when you work with NHS staff or hospital staff, you have to massively reduce your rates. So if you are using Price Labs right now, Price Labs would be a real good time to jump on, go check it out, and be proactive with your pricing and see what others are doing and recommend it. Was that Smart B&B? Those are the guys who are doing that? Like, just to sort of unpack that a little bit again for us, Danny, if you don't mind.
They're doing a website that is it's tailored to work from home. It's tailored to business travelers in the same city. They're not going to sleep overnight. It's not going to get cleaned to reduce cross-contamination, but they're going to provide you a desk, a separate space, good Wi-Fi, proper chair, etc.
We're talking about off-peak rates, and whether we like it or not, like we are coming into April, May, June, which are normally in the Northern Hemisphere, peak times. But whether you like it or not, right now, you are planning for an off-peak season. It's a really hard mindset to get into, but you wrote a really good blog on this about planning and pricing for the off-peak. Obviously, I'm going to put the links so people can go and get the overview of it. But if you could just sort of give some help and guidance and just sort of break down that blog, the thinking behind it, and what people can be doing, say they don't have Price Labs or whatever. What are some of the main takeaways that you got from writing that blog, and what can you share with everybody?
It's really similar to my coronavirus post. My theory is slow season, off-peak season is to be planned for 6 months in advance. You change your calendar availability, you change your pricing, you change your discounts, you change your minimum nights, cancellation policy. You can re-optimize your listing. You can even do things like lower your security deposit. The reason why is because you want to squeeze in extra bookings to fill in your calendar early on the off season, on the off-peak season. That's the whole premise of my strategy. You'll link to the blog post to get specifics on the strategy, but the whole thing basically is just make your listing more flexible in times of less demand.
And there's a lot of people who have been stuck in the same ways for years when they've been renting their property, or their cottages, or whatever you want to do. The very, very, very strict cancellation policies. Well, now's not the time to have that, and you've got to realize that in uncertain times. And if you are going to get a booking specifically now, you're going to have to change that mindset on that. You are going to have to get very flexible with your cancellation policy, particularly if you are reliant on third parties, a third party being online travel agent being Airbnb, booking.com, HomeAway, etc. They right now they are forcing very, very flexible cancellations on all of their properties right now. So you are going to have to sort of flip that mindset and just plan, particularly if you want to be bringing in income over the course of the next couple of months. I'm talking about bookings now, but I'm also talking about bookings for later on in the year. You're going to have to give them a worry-free cancellation policy. That's what I've noticed a lot of hotels and resorts offering in the US and over the world as well. Their new marketing message is worry-free cancellation policy, and you should be looking to adopt that into your marketing message as well.
That's a good point. I've always been flexible cancellation. I believe you get a search rank boost. So when Airbnb changed the policy, well, for me, there were some people who were really upset about this. There was no change for me. They canceled it. That's why I have flexible cancellation. This was an unfortunate situation. I even heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard, strict cancellation policy compared to the 3 moderate, strict, flexible. Strict gets you the most money, nets you the most profit. While that might be true, I'm skeptical of how much it nets you. But I think what's more important is it's the mindset that a host has with a strict cancellation policy that kind of seeps into how they do their Airbnb business. So while they might be getting a short-term boost on net profits, I'm not a fan of it. I know I'm the best listing in the area. I almost always get rebooked, even if it's the same day. I'm pretty sure, though I can't confirm this, nor will Airbnb answer me. If I have a flexible cancellation policy and I get canceled the day of check-in or the day before, I almost always, first of all, usually that doesn't happen. Usually they cancel 5 days, a week before. But if it does happen the day of or the day before, I almost always get a rebooking. And I think that's why, because Airbnb knows that's pretty frustrating for a host to do the right thing and do flexible cancellation policy and then get canceled on the day of. It is frustrating. So they're gonna boost your listing, and you're almost always in busy season, almost always gonna get a rebook.
If there's any main takeaway that hospitality owners, hosts, whether you do Airbnb or whether you've got, you're on all of the platforms and you encourage your own direct bookings, I think the one big takeaway from all of this is that even if you see a cancellation come through, it doesn't mean that it's lost revenue. The big message that I've been pushing is change, not cancel. So we've been doing this week. We've been practicing it, and now more than ever, we've been practicing it. When a cancellation's come through or a cancellation request has come through, we've been picking up the phone and being proactive. We've been speaking to them and saying, listen, guest, that Danny, I totally understand that you want to cancel your stay and not come and visit us in these uncertain times. But instead of canceling it so you don't get to come and stay here and enjoy, this is why you wanted to come and stay with us, let's change it to a date in the future. We could put it for October, November, December, whatever. We're just going to give you credit and we'll just change it to a date in the future. And if you're happy with that, and then we'll be able to give you, you can say we'll refund you, or we will give you a 5% discount or something like that.
What about in these times, something you should do is you should be targeting local guests. And a great idea is to make your space event ready, or even better, list on an event ready type space. People who are, a lot of these are college students doing videos or whatnot. You have to have the house, the setup to do an event ready space, but this I think is a good idea. Event ready can be anything from, like, let's say they want to shoot a part of a movie or a commercial, or they want to have a reception there, or any kind of an event. But these are usually professional type events where they bring in cleaning staff themselves. They don't use the kitchen. They don't stay overnight, though there's going to be more people at your space.
I think it obviously depends on what the current situation is, wherever you are in the world, like with lockdowns and whatnot. But yeah, I think there's so many different proactive things that you can be doing right now. Like we spoke about it in Wednesday's live and last night's live, as people that I know that have changed their current setup, and they are just like what Smart B&B are doing with the foot shake idea. People are renting out rooms in their apartments or in their places for shipping companies. So basically, people are obviously online shopping now is massive, and people haven't got the space in their warehouse to pack and get all the stuff in and out. So they're looking for more venues, and that's what they're also looking to do. They're contacting people via Airbnb, and they're sort of reaching out to them and saying, listen, I don't want to stay with you, but what I want to do is I need to use one of your rooms as a place to store all our boxes so I can come in, pack them up, and then send them off, because obviously online shopping and shipping right now is huge. All right, let's wrap this up. Now, the last question I want to ask you is this something that I've always been impressed with yourself, and it's how you're able to stay away from the noise. Now, you switch off. Now, you mentioned that you have barely no notifications on your phone. You've got a very, very strict routine that you stick to specifically when it comes to working out. Is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that? Can you just sort of walk us through why you make this decision to just sort of switch off from the noise, and what benefits it has for you personally, and if any sort of tactics or advice that you can pass on to people right now who are stuck in their home?
So when you say stay away from the noise, I guess what I'm listening to that as not reacting emotionally. Not to say I don't have emotions. In fact, one of the posts I made a post on my Facebook, and it was just giving my stance on this current situation. And I think it got like 130 comments, and which is a lot for me. Most of them, like 90+%, were very negative, and even like personal attacks going on. They're hurtful. They're still hurtful. So I do have emotions, but I try and, reacting emotionally usually isn't a good idea. And so I stay away from the news. When I read things, I'm really good at detecting BS and really, really super biased type stuff. So recently, some people were saying it was caused by 5G. So I think this would be considered a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't consider myself a conspiracy theory type person, though I think they should be paid attention to. So I was reading a couple articles to try and get both sides, give me the pros and the cons. I want to see both sides of the story. So I was reading the pros and the cons. There were some pro ones. And then I was reading some on, the mainstream media, which is going to be, no, it doesn't happen. And it was just so blatant bias that I was just searching for something that was unbiased. So I think that's part of it. If you get both sides, you stay unemotional. When you're emotional, you like, people respond to my Facebook posts, like calling me a moron and a personal attacks. Why don't we have a rational discussion? Even if you're trying to change my mind to come to your side, that's not the way to do it. I just kind of understand how, I think it is. I understand how the world works now. I've kind of always, because of this, looking at both sides. So what have I done? I'm an investor. The stocks have just plummeted. This has happened many times in the past, and I have a video up about how I invested, and I go through live and I invest some money into my account live. That's an unemotional person, someone not reacting emotionally. I understand what's going on. I am taking precautions. You're not going to see me at a concert. You're not going to see me at a big concert. That's a high risk event. If I go on an airplane, I'm going to wear a mask and take precautions. But advice would be, don't react emotionally. Don't watch a documentary. Understand that everyone has an agenda. Everyone has an agenda. The media has an agenda. This is not a political statement. I'm not in the US, I'm not a liberal nor Republican. I vote on both sides, depending on the issue. I think in a lot of countries, especially the US, it's become a political issue. Because I'm a little bit skeptical of coronavirus, all of the liberals attack me. Oh no, I'm not saying it as a Republican or a political thing. This is just my thoughts.
How do you see the new normal being? How do you see it all planning out? Like, let's start with hospitality. Let's then move into, say, investing, and let's just say how you personally see all of this going on to from here on in the next weeks and months. Like you say, you've made a sort of prediction that you think this is going to be over by the end of April, start of May, early June. But how do you see like the new normal?
About a week ago, I think exactly a week ago, I made my prediction. I said within 1 month, this will disappear. Maybe it won't disappear, but it will, for our context, it will disappear. We're 1 week in, so in 3 weeks, I believe this will disappear. What will happen is the same thing that happens always. There's been all these issues in the past. It reemerges. What about the Amazon burning? Well, what happened to that issue? Gone. Everything is fine. By the way, about the Amazon burning, the same kind of tactics were used. They were quoting this is irrelevant to the current discussion, but relevant to the media at large. They were quoting the burn rate based on the prior year. So they were saying it increased like 90%, but the prior year was the lowest burn rate in the past decade. These are facts. So it's misleading to say that issue gone. But hey, it got a lot of good views at the time. Same thing with Australia. That only happened for maybe like 5-7 days, a week and a half. Australia was burning, and then that kind of went away. It's just sensationalism, and it's detrimental, I think, in a lot. So with hospitality, it'll come back. It'll come back within 3 weeks. You already start seeing it. China shut down their last coronavirus hospitals because there wasn't enough demand. They're about a month in advance of everyone else. You're already seeing, I'm seeing some charts. They're quite misleading. The lines are flattening out. Even if this thing was contagious, people are quarantining themselves. It can't possibly spread. It's already on its way out. You're seeing articles coming out even in the mainstream media. Wall Street Journal, I saw one. It may not be as contagious as we thought. And then you said, so investing, because I'm unemotional for these things, I think things rationally is a different way. So how can I take advantage of the situation? This is what I'm always thinking. How can I take advantage of the situation? I invested a good amount of money in the stocks. They plummeted. And when I announced I did this, a lot of people who are reacting emotionally to this, they said, oh, no, it's way too early. Way too early. You got to wait months. First of all, they're making an error in judgment in that they think they can predict the market. No one can predict the market. Not even Warren Buffett can predict the market. What I'm doing is I'm seeing a big discount and I'm buying as a long-term investor. If it continues going down further, I'm going to buy more. But because I'm a long-term investor, I will make my money back. The video I posted on my personal YouTube, I discussed times I've done this in the past with Netflix, with Chipotle, with BP. It always works out. The cycle repeats itself.
At the very, very start of this conversation is going to go like one or two ways. Like people are going to agree with it. People are going to not agree with it, and people are going to react emotionally to it when they listen to this, whether it's live or on the replay, or they're going to be able to take it. And this is what a discussion is, and it's always good discussions to have. I recommend that everybody go and checks out Danny's Instagram. It's at Danny Boo Boo. YouTube channel as well is at Danny Boo Boo. For more Airbnb or hospitality related advice, optimizemybnb.com, and you can go check it out and you can find out all about what Danny is doing from the world of Airbnb, and as well with his personal side as well. So thank you so much for doing that and for coming on. And have a great time in Bali. You're in a beautiful part of the world, and obviously they've said that people can now stay for as long as they want. You don't have to do visa runs or anything like that, so you're going to be there for a while. Have you got any final words or anything that you'd like to say to the people watching, whether it's live or on the replay?
I'm watching the live right now, and I'm seeing some comments about contagious. So if I said it's not contagious, I don't think I did, but if I did, that's a mistake. What I'm saying is it's not as contagious as we think. You're not going to shake a hand with someone and get it. The last thing I saw was if you're on a plane with someone, and you're sitting next to them, if you're even a row away, you're really not going to get it. Very tiny chance to get it. So this is kind of the scare tactics. The media makes it seem like, you shake hands with someone and you get coronavirus. It doesn't work that way. Take precautions, but don't react emotionally and think that coronavirus is flying at you. It's not.
Thank you for being part of it. And like I say, this is part of what I want to do with this whole series is find out where people are in the different parts of the world, find out what the current situation is and how it's affecting them and their business, and obviously their views as well. And everybody's going to have different views, and it's important to state that everybody can have their different views. And what I want to say to everybody is thank you so much for watching in and tuning into this live and tuning back into this on the replay. I'm going to keep on doing live videos. Please make sure that everybody, before you leave, just go over to iTunes, the Boostly podcast, and just go leave a little quick review there. We've got a new podcast out today. We had Simon Saw on. We did this live video. It's now been made into an audio so everybody can hear. He is in Jersey. He's part of their COBRA team, their government, which is helping fight the coronavirus for the hospitality industry in Jersey. It's a really good one. It's one of our most live viewed videos that we've done. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. for another live video.